everybody, Coach Troy Brown here, and today we're talking to you. We're in the office and I've got two great questions that I thought I'd share with you because I really feel they can give you some value today. If your goal is to build muscle, if your goal is to build strength, if you're trying to put on mass, this is two very important questions. So let me just get started here, and there are two questions. Number one is a guy named Ian from Illinois. Question one is, I am 6 months into a building phase, but I have zero appetite. Been there. I know I have to be in a calorie surplus, but I can't seem to do it. I feel as though I am always force feeding. Been there. So all I can talk is from personal experience and what I give to clients. But what I would suggest that you do when it comes to trying to increase your appetite, let's look at movement. Let's look at energy expenditure. I would suggest that you could do 20 minutes 2 to 3 times a week to start with of cardiovascular first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. And you're not doing this for fat burning, you're just doing this to increase metabolism. So that way when you're done your cardio, hopefully you should feel as though you should have somewhat of an appetite. This happened to me many times when I was trying to put on size in the off season. I'm not a big eater naturally, so I do struggle, and I had to force feed a lot, which is, let's just face it, force feeding is like, each spoon is like a rep. It's hard bloody work, and that's the most hardest part I find about putting on weight. So that would be number one. Step one, increase your do some type of movement, be more active, increase your step count, but more importantly, do 2 to 3 days of 20-minute cardio on an empty stomach. Secondly, look at calorie dense foods. I made a little list here of some of the foods that I used to do back in the day. I used to eat a lot more nut butter, so peanut butter, almond butter as an example. I would eat a lot more Brazil nuts because of the magnesium, but also because of the high calorie count. Granola, massive fan. Everybody that knows me knows I'm a massive fan to this day still of granola. I love it, especially at night. So that's a great time to eat it if you're trying to get the extra calories in. I used to do, and I still do now, is I will do granola and I'll add some lactose-free yogurt on top of it, and it's absolutely delicious. Secondly, you can eat, thirdly would be some cinnamon and raisin bagels. Massive fan of that. I would also put on some light cream cheese on that, again, just to keep the calories up. And also I was a big fan back in the day of ambrosia rice pudding. I'm not sure if you get that in North America, but in England that's what we used to eat a lot of. And then the traditional things for protein like steak as an example. So those would be my staples. And the reason why I would eat those foods more in the off season is because I didn't have much of an appetite, so I would eat foods that had more calories in them. They're what you would call calorie dense foods. All right, perfect. Now to add to that, what I know now is if I could turn the clock back, I would have done this important variable. And every Sunday, traditionally Sunday, because that's the day I'd never train, I would do, if I could turn the clock back, what I would do now is do a fast. I would fast for maybe 16 hours or 18 hours. And the reason why I would do that, and I would recommend that you do the same thing, even now, once a week, is to do 1 day of fasting, is because it gives your digestion a break. You know, when you're trying to put on muscle, you're trying to put on mass, and you're trying to eat in a calorie surplus, it's a lot of stress on the digestive system. So having 1 day off a week might be a good idea for you to do, just to give the digestion a break every Sunday, and then Monday go back into your calorie surplus again. All right, now we're going to switch things up. Now, my second question I got from a gentleman named Terry in Ontario, and what he asked was, his question was more on the resistance side of things. Here we go. I really enjoy your channel, and one of the videos you talk about the importance of going to failure. With the new research, it's clearly showing that you don't have to go to failure. To be honest, I find the whole muscle building culture and science completely confusing. It's all over the map. And he has an emoji here, angry face. Okay, all right. I know it is confusing. It still confuses me sometimes. And I think the bottom line is none of us really know how really muscle building works at that scientific level. They're still trying to figure it out. Strength, we do have more research and more data to back things up, but when it comes to hypertrophy, building muscle, building size, there's still the information out there. For me, based on what the research, and I do a lot of research with Dr. Brad Schoenfield, PhD, and also Stuart Phillips, who's in Ontario. These are the sort of the one of the two leading experts when it comes to muscle building and hypertrophy. And from the research that I read, they're saying, and I think this is where it gets confusing, that you don't have to go to failure, but they do add, if you read really closely, they do say whatever rep range you're using, if you're doing myofibral training or if you're doing more sarcoplasmic accumulation training, whatever you do, you still have to get close to muscular failure. So let's say if you're doing more metabolic stress training, which would be higher rep ranges, let's say you're trying to get 20 to 30 reps, you still have to get close to failure. So I think that's where people are getting confused. Whatever rep ranging you're using, if you're using 6 to 8 or 5 to 6 or 5 to 8 reps, or if you're even using 20 to 30 reps and higher, the goal would be to get to failure or get close to it. Now, I will add though, when you're trying to go to failure or getting close to it, you've got to be careful of what movement patterns you select. For example, if you're doing a deadlift, if you're doing a squat, if you're doing what else would there be? A RDL as an example, the big compound movements, the risky movements. Those are movements that I wouldn't go near failure. I would maybe keep about 4 or 5 reps shy of muscular failure. Whereas if I'm doing a leg extension, if I'm doing a lateral raise, or I'm doing a single joint movement, those are the movements I'll go to failure on all day long. So you've got to pick your movements wisely, and I would encourage you never to go to failure on a back squat, especially if you don't even have a spotter on hand. So those are the 2 questions that I wanted to bring to the table today. I hope they help. I hope they give you some value in your building muscle endeavors. As always, if you've got any value from this, please like, please subscribe, and leave a comment below and let me know your thoughts. The thing I love about this game so much is every coach has a different idea or a different concept on their ways of building muscle, right? If we were all the same, how boring would it be? So this is just my belief, this is my opinion. You might go to another coach and they might have a completely opposite opinion. But anyway, have a good day. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take care.